Moving on, it gives me great pleasure now to bring on board Mr. Ashwath Ram, Managing Director of Cummins India, to talk about what is the way forward for the economy, the company and the sector he represents, and what is his understanding on how soon the capital market cycle actually would revive. Mr. Ram, good morning. Thank you for joining us and thank you for being part of this edition of IRM India Revival Mission, a show where we debate, deliberate and also discuss what is the way forward for India in this pandemic crisis. Before I get into specifics of your business, your company, your sector, walk us through your understanding of where the economy is.
So I think we are in a revival mode. I think we had the toughest months between March and June, and I think we have bottomed out and gradually beginning to bounce back up. I think from a infrastructure perspective, the infrastructure is keeping up to the COVID impact, and most people are back at work and trying to get back things to normal. So it's beginning to bounce back pretty strongly is the way I'm seeing it right now.
Right. Okay. Fair point. My next question is that the sector which you represent, essentially capital goods sector, some would argue that this sector was going through slowdown even before the COVID. Has COVID in a sense really made it slightly tough for a sector which otherwise was going through a cyclical slowdown?
As you rightly said, our business, which mainly consists of automotive sectors as well as the power generation business, which is in the capital goods sector, and we also supply to industrial markets like rail and marine and construction. Many of those sectors were going through a cyclical slowdown. The first of it was impacted because of the banking crisis, which was there in late 2018, early 2019. And then the automotive side of the business also went through a very major emissions change, which typically other countries do in 10 years. What India has done is gone through that kind of change in 3 years. So with all of that, the market was expected to be slower than 2019. But the impact of COVID, with factories all being shut down, no sales for a couple of months, all of that has, added a further burden to the industry of having to come out of this crisis.
Okay. When do you think capacity utilization will come back to a level at which entrepreneurs and capital allocators would be tempted to start the new capex cycle? Because for your sector and your company to do well, a fresh cycle has to start. A fresh cycle, I'm breaking it for our viewers, will only start when a threshold of minimum capacity utilization is reached.
I think we are not very far from that portion of the cycle. We are already at close to somewhere between 70 to 80% capacity utilization. And part of it, of course, can be said is some pent-up demand because nothing was produced in the economy for a couple of months. But many parts of the economy continue to progress well. The agriculture sector continues to progress well. The FMCG sectors continue to progress well. All the service sectors continue to progress well. And the combination of all those factors is that, the economy will continue to keep moving. Some sectors will revive a little more slowly. But I'm beginning to see signs across pretty much all segments that demand is beginning to come up. And I feel pretty strongly that by early next year, demand will be pretty strong as compared to what we have seen it in 2020.
When you say demand will be strong, are you comparing 2020 levels or are you saying demand comparisons, the parallels you're drawing, they are of the pre-COVID level?
I'm based on the trends we have started to see. We think that already we are at 70 to 80% capacity utilization of the pre-COVID level, and we think with another 3 or 4 quarters where things are starting to steadily pick up, we think by middle of next year we will be at pre-COVID levels of capacity. We won't be at the peak we had in 2018. Certainly, I think even 2021 will be probably 10 or 15% below that level. But we will pretty much be at 2019 levels by middle of next year.
Now, Cummins is the world's largest dealer in the world's largest player in the diesel engine market. Now, the shift from the diesel engine to other forms of other forms of machinery, other forms of engine is something which is a mega trend. It could be gradual, but it's a trend which is there. How are you planning to safeguard your company from this mega trend?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and actually we are very well prepared for the change in technology. Every time the technology changes or the rules become tougher, or one has to introduce more complex emissions, or even introduce new fuels, new ways of driving a powertrain, Cummins has always succeeded. And we are prepared in many ways. One is a big driver of change in the diesel engine side of the world is that everything is becoming electronic. And Cummins leads in most of the electronics as well as emission technologies around the world. And this is actually helping us gain market share as well as reach more customers than we have ever done before. Cummins has also been making many acquisitions and has made many investments in the electrification space as well as in the space of fuel cells, alternate gases, and many other forms of fuels. So we almost like to say that we are fuel agnostic, and as a matter of fact, the more types of fuel, the more complex the technology, it helps Cummins win. And to that intent, Cummins has invested very, very heavily in India. We have anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000 engineers already working in India doing R&D work on all of these technologies. About 50-60% of that work is done for global customers around the world. So when India becomes ready to use some of those different fuels or different technologies, Cummins will be ahead of the game.
What about your global competitiveness? Because fuel cell is not the area of strength. Diesel engine is something where you mastered it. You almost had a monopoly status because of your vintage and because of your technology. Globally in fuel cell business, in the new technology, you'll have to compete with completely different, different set of customers and a different set of different set of consumers and a different set of competition.
Right. And I think we are very well suited to do that. It's because of four things. The first is that we understand the industry and our applications better than many of our competitors because we've been in it for 100 years. We also have been making a lot of investments in the right technology which matters to our customers. We have outstanding and amazing relationships with OEMs, fleets, and end users. And finally, our network is unmatched, and we will be there where our customers need to be. So it's a combination of making the right investments, having the scale of reach, having the best type of customers, and again, continuing to be a market leader in the technology even as we get into the newer technologies. So I think a combination of those factors is why we are very bullish on the new technology, and we will be ready to stand toe to toe to fight with the best in the world and do better.
In terms of a specific area, who will be your future consumers of the new technology? Will it be the same guys buying differently, or you'll add new set of customers?
It's going to be a combination. So let me give an example with the fuel cell and the hydrogen technologies. So in these technologies, we not only supply fuel cells, we also supply electrolyzers, which means these are electrolyzers are ways by which you generate hydrogen. And earlier we were never a company supplying any fuel; we only supplied the powertrain. So the certainly the fuel cell along with the can be used in the powertrain. So those customers where we supply the diesel engine as a powertrain can now use the fuel cell and the associated motors and all that hardware. They can continue buying from us. So we retain some of those existing customers, but we have opportunities to expand into new markets. So with the electrolyzers, we can be producers of hydrogen, and that hydrogen can be used to balance the grid. It can be used to store energy. It can be used even to enhance the life of diesel products by enriching the mixture by putting hydrogen in it. So I think it actually opens up the space for us to acquire many new customers and play in more spaces than we do today.
Okay. Let's understand the manufacturing landscape of India. Somewhere India has not been able to emerge as a big powerhouse in the manufacturing space. I know Cummins has some presence in the export, but some would argue, looking at your technology, availability of skilled engineers here, availability of talent, why is that Cummins has not been able to scale up the export business the way it was viewed or the way it was envisaged a couple of years ago?
So Cummins still does quite a bit of exports. Actually, probably we do more exports than any one of our competitors in the Indian market. But there have been a couple of factors. The first is that the emissions in India have been what were called lagging emissions. And so the products we were producing in India were not to the same technology or to the needs of some of the advanced markets in the world like Europe and America. As a matter of fact, with BS6 coming in and with the technology moving to CPCB 4+, which is equivalent to EPA Tier 4 in North America, we think that many more doors and more opportunities will open up for us. And certainly we have made a lot of investments in India based on that optimism. And we are confident that in the future we should be able to capitalize those investments as well as grow the exports from where they are today.
While a lot of developed nations are conscious of emission norms, and that explains the fact which we discussed in terms of the importance of a diesel engine, do you think this also opens up a strong frontier for you to African nations and to LATAM pockets and geographies and countries where affordability and emission norms could perhaps be a reason why diesel engine demand could be strong?
Absolutely. And we certainly believe that as diesel technology slowly migrates towards electrification and the hydrogen economy, we think this cycle could be anywhere between a 20 to 30 year kind of cycle. And during those 20 to 30 years, demand will actually go up for quite some time before it goes down, as there's likely to be quite a bit of consolidation happening in the market. And the people with the most amount of technology, the widest range of products, the greatest reach, are likely to become the consolidators. And certainly Cummins wants to be one of those major consolidators. We already supply to 120 countries around the world. So we have a large presence in Africa, in the Middle East, in Latin America, and some of those lagging markets. And yes, we are confident that demand in some of those markets will grow over the next 10 or 15 years as the other portion of the world slowly migrates to some of the newer technologies.
But in India, do you think adaptability of diesel is going to be a challenge? I keep on asking this very simple question to myself, Mr. Ram, that I cannot imagine India will have no combustion engine, because fuel is one category from where government gets the maximum taxes. So I just cannot imagine that you don't have a combustion engine or petrol station in India.
Yeah, so which is why we don't believe that this is going to migrate as quickly as some people have been saying. India, for example, does not have lithium ion. And so all you would do if you were to go from diesel to battery is migrate from one imported source to another imported source, and that to a source which is controlled by a country that's not too friendly with us at this stage. We certainly believe that even the technology is not ready or going to be ready for commercial applications for quite some time. And the way we see migration happening is first going to start off with two-wheelers and smaller vehicles like three-wheelers, and then gradually migrate to buses and some of the intra-city kind of applications before it goes into much wider ranges. So there is quite some time before it is all going to just go away. And there's a huge amount of investment to be done in infrastructure. And as you know, with all the crises we are facing as an economy, I don't think the government has so much money available to make all those infrastructure investments at this stage. So it's likely to get pushed out even further than what we have been thinking in the last few years.
Mr. Ram, one large reason why the diesel engine demand in India was strong is because of a poor power infrastructure. But now things are changing there. Discoms are in a much better position to give uninterrupted supply of power. The experience of big cities also has, in terms of power supply and consistency, has improved. In my young days, I definitely remember when we had a diesel genset in a house because the electricity cut was so high. Thankfully, my son is not growing up in that kind of an environment. So this is again a mega trend. Is this something which your shareholders should worry about? Because continuity in power in Indian household and industrial is something which is bad for your business.
Actually, the data shows differently. So what happens is, as one gets used to more reliable power coming in from the grid, one gets very, very jittery when one loses power even for small amounts of time. And when you look at advanced countries like Europe or North America, Japan, many of them have not had grid problems for now nearly 2 or 3 decades. But our sales, even in those markets, continue to keep increasing, because as people get used to a more reliable grid, they want to have backup energy sources available, and the diesel technology is one of the most reliable backup sources. So we actually see demand increasing as the grid becomes more reliable. And the other portion is that as renewables come in, so you have solar coming in, you have wind power coming in, and a greater and greater percentage of our grid is coming from these renewable energy sources. Now, what you find is that these are not predictable. They are great sources, they are wonderful for the environment, but they are not predictable from a reliability perspective. And typically what happens is, to back those up also, you sell either diesel or gas powered generators. And we have seen those trends around the world where the supplemental power or the balancing power is all supported by the products we make. So, we don't feel threatened in any manner. Our shareholders need not worry. There is lots and lots of opportunity available for us.
Well, the world is split into two companies, those who are digital ready and those who are not digital ready. How is Cummins ensuring that they are digital ready? Because for a company which essentially is a engineering success, a company which is in the diesel manufacturing, how are you adopting digital technology and digitization of products as well as processes?
Right. Again, a very good question. If you look at the diesel engine of today versus a diesel engine we used to sell even 5 years ago in India, you will see that the new diesel engine has significant amount of electronics and software. It's actually a computer which is running some mechanical parts and not the other way around. So you have ECMs, you have a whole bunch of software which is looking at emissions. We have a after treatment system which is basically a small chemical factory which sits at the end of the engine, which is also controlled completely by software and which monitors all the emissions coming out of the tailpipe. So, and all of this is tied in together with digitally by software and hardware that we ourselves design and produce. In addition, with BS6, we are also introducing the most advanced telematics ever introduced in India. And this is our own box with our own software, which is monitoring the engine and the after treatment in real time and sending us real time information for backend to do all kinds of diagnostics to be able to predict what is going to happen, what parts are likely to fail, to be able to protect the customer and improve their uptime, to be able to do over-the-air calibrations and make sure that the engine keeps getting refreshed as we learn more about how it's working. So there's a whole bunch of technology that we are putting in into the base engines and the supporting of the engines and also the back end to keep all of this running very, very smoothly. And we have many of those software engineers and electronic engineers all sitting in our tech center in Pune. And we are really, really excited about getting more and more of this kind of digital technology into the market. And it's a real exciting time from a Cummins perspective.
Okay, just before I wrap, Mr. Ram, last 5 years, some would argue that they have been challenging. Business globally and locally has not grown at a rate at which a lot of companies had projected because of a cyclical slowdown in capex. On top of that, you have a disruption which is happening in terms of technology and also the relevance of diesel engines. Next 5 years, for Cummins, how will they be radically different?
Yeah, so there are a few areas by which we think it's going to be radically different. One is emissions continues to get tighter. India has signed the Paris Accord and nations around the world are tightening the emissions to protect their people from particulate matter, from NOx, from carbon monoxide, etc. And that portion of our business is going to go through literally a revolutionary change. The engines are becoming a lot more complex. There's a lot more technology being added into those engines than ever before in our history. And this allows us multiple benefits. One is it allows us to gain market share because we have more technology which is implemented than any one of our competitors around the world. Second is it allows us to vertically integrate and do more value addition. Earlier, you were selling a mechanical engine with very basic after treatment. Now we are selling a complete after treatment system, adding that onto the engine and integrating all of that, which means not only are we gaining market share but we are growing the pie itself is growing and we are growing our share in the pie. The second big aspect is what we spoke about earlier is consolidation is happening, which means because Cummins has a very, very wide range of products available for a huge bunch of applications and the change in technology is happening at such a rapid rate, not everyone is going to be, it's not economical for everyone to continue to keep making investments in this technology. They need to keep making investments in other technologies which are more relevant to their businesses. And this allows us the opportunity to consolidate, to have more partnerships, have more customers and keep growing. We did speak about the export side, where because now we are no longer just a lagging exports nation, we are a leading emissions nation. It opens up more opportunities for exports as well. And Cummins has already made a lot of the capex investment it needs for the next 5 to 10 years has already been made earlier. So it has very limited risk of having to make more capex investments in the future, other than for introducing new technology. So a combination of all of these factors, and the fact that we continue to be hungry and focused on customers and continue to be successful around the world, I think holds well for us in India as well to keep getting more growth than what we have gotten in the last 5 years.
Well, Mr. Ram, really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. And I certainly hope to see much more of you going forward. Stay safe, and once again, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
That's this edition
very nice
of
talking to you.
India Revival Mission. Thank you for watching the show, and thank you for tuning in.